Hopefully you guys are getting ready for the holidays too. I'm always excited, but working in sports, you kind of lose sight of the holidays sometimes. I'm like, oh yeah, Christmas is coming up in just a few weeks. Totally forgot about it.
Well, the holiday season is really bowl season. It's one of
That's right.
Hey, Sam, before we get started real fast, I put it in the chat, but I don't know if you're the person or not, but just some permissions to record this. I don't know who triggers that or whatever.
Permissions to record the Zoom. If one of the guests is wanting
to. I've allowed them to.
Oh, we're going to provide the recording for you guys. So you'll be good to go. All right, I think we are good to go. So again, thank you guys for being here. Again, I'm Sam Gannon. I'm a sports reporter and anchor at Fox 4, which is based out of Dallas. Again, I'm excited to be here as your moderator for this afternoon's bowl season media availability. So again, thanks for taking some time out with us and being here today. We are joined here today by the one and only Nick Carparelli, who is the Executive Director of Bowl Season. He's going to talk about the upcoming bowl season schedule, and we're also going to talk about the role that bowls will continue to play as part of college football's postseason, including that upcoming expansion that we've been talking so much about these last couple of years, and that expansion to 12 playoff teams will happen in the 2024-25 season. A couple of things before we really begin. Bowl season is a 4-decade-long old organization. They work closely with key stakeholders to promote the college bowl system. The format of this availability will be a brief moderated conversation followed by some questions by all of you. So make sure you have those ready to go. And for those media members on the call today, please message the questions directly to the moderator. I will ask as many as possible, try to get them all in. I'll announce the name and affiliation of the individual asking the question. And please note mine or Nick's direct chats. They will not be active. So without further ado, please welcome in Executive Director of Bowl Season, Nick Carparelli. Nick, I know you're a busy man. So again, thanks for being here today. And we're gonna get into it. First of all, it's fantastic to turn the calendar now to December. As we were just saying, it's forget holiday season. It's really bowl season. All of the matchups were announced on that college football playoff selection show on Sunday. Just wanted to get your perspective, Nick, coming from all executive directors of bowls from across the nation. What is it like? What is the feeling like now that we're finally past the pandemic and we can have full capacities for all of these bowl games?
It feels so good, Sam. I tell you, every year at this time, it feels good. You know, under normal circumstances, when bowl season gets here, we know it's a special time of year. Everybody loves bowl games, loves watching them. But this year, I think it's even more special given what's happened the previous 2 years. You know, 2 years ago in 2020, when we were really right in the middle of the pandemic, only 26 of the 43 bowl games were able to be played. And that was really hard, but you know, that was kind of the way of the world then. Last year, we thought we were in good shape. All the team selections were made on Selection Sunday, and then we hit that wave, that 2 or 3 week spike that caused 4 bowl games to be canceled that had anticipated being played. And 3 of them in particular, I'm really excited for. The Holiday Bowl and the Military Bowl missed both years, as did the Fenway Bowl. The Fenway Bowl was anxious to have their inaugural game. This would be their 3rd try at that. And they got a great matchup, Cincinnati versus Louisville. So I'm excited for them to kick that game off. And then the Military Bowl and the Holiday Bowl had to miss both years. One of the things I'm really proud of their bowl organizations, and really all of them across the country, is how resilient they were. And I think it's really a testament to how important these bowl games are to the communities that host them. You know, those games that weren't able to be played, the people who buy tickets in from the local community every year, the local sponsors really kind of came to their side and say, hey, look, this game is too important for our community. We need it to stick around in the future once we weather this storm. And they maintained their financial support, made sure they were able to pay their bills and continue on this year and provide those same meaningful experiences they always had to these institutions and not go away as a result of the pandemic. So I think it's I'm really proud of those bowl organizations and the communities that host them. And I think it's a real testament to how important these games are to everybody involved.
Yeah, especially for the players, the coaches, the staff. It really makes you appreciate things now that we're back to normal, so to speak. Well, speaking of college football, it's been a fantastic year. I always say as quickly as it begins, it ends. I just want you to get your perspective on the matchups that we have this year for bowl season. What stands out to you most, Nick, when you look at this slate of matchups?
Gosh, it's hard to pick one, Sam. I think that's one of the things that always makes bowl season so exciting is the intriguing matchups. And it's a combination of, for the most part, you see two teams play each other who wouldn't normally schedule each other. And it's in a destination that they wouldn't normally play. I'm excited to see the Las Vegas Bowl. You see Florida play Oregon State. You probably can't get much further away from those institutions. They're not scheduling each other anytime soon.
No.
Playing a unique place like Las Vegas, I know their fans are going to enjoy. You see matchups like Kansas and Arkansas. Those two teams are not geographically opposed, but for some reason they don't play each other very often. We saw that last year in the Duke's Mayo Bowl when North Carolina and South Carolina played each other. I'm excited to see South Carolina play Notre Dame. You talk about the meaning of bowl games beyond the playoff games. South Carolina was a rebuilding program. They fought to be 6-6 last year, got to the Duke's Mayo Bowl, upset North Carolina to go 7-6. Use that as a launching point for this year. They finished up the season upsetting two top 10 teams at the end of the year to go 8-4, and now get to go to the Gator Bowl to play Notre Dame. If we did not have the bowl system beyond the playoff, all those schools I mentioned would I don't know what they would be doing right now. They'd be getting ready to go home for the holidays and not being appropriately awarded for the seasons they had. So I can go on and on about the matchups, but those are a few that really stand out in my mind.
Yeah, there's a big sense of pride that comes with these schools that aren't playing in the college football playoff, amongst the players, the coaches, the staff. So it's an exciting time of year for these teams as well. Now, there has been a lot of chatter about the expansion of the college football playoff. I mean, especially here these last couple of years, we were like, when is it? When are they going to expand past 4 teams? Because we all want to see that. We want to see different teams able to get into the college football, right? So it is going to expand to 12 teams beginning with the 2024 season. Bowl games, of course, are going to continue to be part of the overall plan to crown a national champion. First off, Nick, please tell us about the bowl season's position in supporting the college football playoffs efforts.
Yeah, I love that question. I love the playoff. I mean, I'm a college football fan at heart, just like everybody else. It's interesting this time of year. I do a couple interviews a day, print media, podcasts, radio shows. Everybody asks me that question. I think I surprise them by the answer, and I almost disappoint some reporters. Some people kind of, oh, haha, I got you with this question. But that's not the case. As much as college football needs a great mechanism to crown a champion, just like every other sport, I think the rest of bowl season is more meaningful to a greater number of institutions and a greater number of student athletes than the playoff by itself. There's 130 institutions that play FBS college football, 4 teams in the playoff. Even if it goes to 12, or when it does go to 12, it can't get much bigger than that. You're already asking student athletes to play 4 more games, which I think could be a potential problem. But you can't just send everybody else home. I mentioned South Carolina. You and I were talking before we started about UConn. I mean, that program was in the dumps. Coach Mora came in, got them to 6 this year, which was a major accomplishment. They're going to the Myrtle Beach Bowl. My alma mater, Syracuse, is going to the Pinstripe Bowl. They were 7-5 when they weren't expected to do that. College football is a very uneven playing field. Most programs can't really expect to be in the playoff on a regular basis. So what are they playing for? They're using the bowl system, one, to build towards that playoff potential, right? And use it as stepping stones, but also to create, or to provide a great opportunity, great memories, a great experience for the student athletes who have earned something at the end of the regular season for their efforts, just as much as the student athletes as those teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. And beyond the college football playoff, the Bulls will continue to play a very important role, as you mentioned, as college football's postseason. There's been so many changes to the college football game, as we know, when you talk about the NIL, the transfer portal, which right now the transfer portal is going crazy. There's been all kinds of memes out there about how many student athletes have entered that thing. No matter what happens though, talk about what all the bowl games provide when it comes to tradition, but also celebration as well.
Yeah, so we like to call the bowl season a celebration of college football. We think it's okay if a bowl game doesn't factor into the national championship equation. It's still very meaningful to those student athletes who participate in them. The transfer portal is an issue for everybody. It's not our issue at bowl season. I talk to coaches all the time about what bowl games mean to them. And for some, it's a reward for a successful season. For others, it's a launching point for the following season and an opportunity for the underclassmen to get more time and to see what they are, what's in store for that program the following year. And for most coaches, it's a combination of the two. So, it's a celebration of the sport. It's an opportunity for people to step up who maybe didn't have that opportunity before. And let's face it, college football fans, they root for their team. They root for the individuals who play on that team at that moment. But when those student athletes leave, they're going to root for the next group that comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So college football fans tend to be very, very loyal to their team. They love the players that are there when they're there, but they love the next group of players just as much.
Loyal, passionate, rowdy, all those things wrapped into one. What opportunities do you see for bowls to get involved with things like the NIL? What doors do you think it opens for sponsors to get involved with the experience of student athletes, since that's become such a big part of life for these student athletes right now with the way the game has changed?
Yeah, I'm very excited for the opportunities that's going to present to us. We have a great partnership with Open Doors, who helps us educate our membership on the opportunities that NIL presents. We have a big annual meeting every year, and they play a big role there. I think most bowls are still playing a little bit of a wait and see. We want to be very respectful of what our conference partners and those 10 commissioners want us to do with NIL. We're seeing, in some of these early season basketball events where these student athletes are going to the Bahamas and
Mm-hmm.
making a little bit of money as well by performing a service while they're there. We see that as something that's very possible with bowl games. I know these conferences are under a lot of pressure to find ways to put more money in the hands of student athletes, but doing it in a legal way. You can't pay it. There's no such thing as pay for play. That's not legal.
Mm-hmm.
So we think down the road, there's going to be a really big place for bowl games to play in that, to put money in the hands of the student athletes, to provide some service to promote either the sponsors of the bowl game or the destination of the bowl game. But we're going to really take our cue from the commissioners. We're really excited about this offseason to engaging the 10 conference commissioners in a bigger way, a more formal way than we ever have before. Now that they've put the new CFP format to bed, we know that they're now going to refocus on the rest of bowl season. When do they want it to start? When do they want it to end? How do they want the bowl games to fit in and around the playoff games, to use the bowl games as a platform to promote that pinnacle event? So we're really excited to have those conversations.
It's going to be interesting to see how all those developments come together as this progresses. Bowl Season Radio, Nick, is back this year. Bowl Season has partnered with First Team Ventures to provide exclusive live national radio play-by-play for 18 college bowl games this season, which is great. Tell us a little bit about Bowl Season Radio and how last year's inaugural campaign went.
Yeah, really excited about that. In year two, as you mentioned, it's something that bowl games, it's totally up to them whether they want to opt in or not. Some of them have pre-existing contracts that they're evaluating as they go. But if you take away the New Year's Six games, roughly half of the remaining games are part of Bowl Season Radio. And what that allows us to do is to promote all of those games outside of just the 3-hour window of that one particular game. So during game broadcasts, we have halftime shows where we're previewing a few upcoming games during bowl season. We're recapping games that have already been played. There's a lot of cross promotion involved. So really excited about that initiative. It's just in year two, but 18 broadcasts this year, and you can tune into Sirius XM radio to listen to all those games.
Which is great when it comes to flexibility, because people nowadays, they're always on the go. going here or there. So the fact that they can do that with that many games is going to be great to see. Bowl season implemented a way to celebrate bowl eligible teams last season when they reached their 6th win, which was a big hit. And that continues along this year. Nick, you all worked with teams and head coaches to get them exclusive bowl bound t-shirts, which are sustainable for the environment. The program continuing to be a big hit from what we've seen on social media. Tell us more about the effort and the overall reaction that you've had from student athletes, teams, coaches, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's been overwhelming. This is year 2. Last year we got the program started. It's really based on the notion of in any sport at any level, if you win something, you get a t-shirt. You usually put it on in the locker room. It doesn't have to be the championship, the national championship. Pro teams put it on when they win their division. It's a stepping stone to get to the ultimate prize. Over the years, when teams have earned their 6th win, they know they're going to a bowl game. They just don't know which game it's going to be for another month or so sometimes. So they've had a great celebration, but they've never really had a focal point. So we create these bowl bound t-shirts. We provide them free of charge to each institution for their entire team. This year, we really saw it take off. Teams were celebrating with it, putting it on in the locker room, wearing it out around campus afterwards. And what's really unique about the program this year is we partnered with Vapor Apparel, who makes the shirts out of a fabric called Reprieve, which is made from recycled water bottles. So 16 of these water bottles makes one shirt. So it's a great story all around, a story of sustainability, story about celebrating college football and becoming bowl bound. And sometimes you do things and you think it's a pretty good idea, but you're not sure. The college football is just coming off their big National Football Foundation Hall of Fame event in Las Vegas. And I can't tell you how many people brought that up as something of all the initiatives we're doing, that they noticed that and they thought it was such a cool idea. So we're really excited about continuing to build that program.
All right, we're going to jump to a media question right now, actually, from Scott Doctorman. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your last name correct, of The Athletic. Nick, travel costs for fans to destination locations for the final 3 college football rounds will be significant, as you know. What is the benefit of college football playoff using bowl locations for the quarterfinals, semifinals, and championship rather than on-campus environments?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think we need to be mindful of the fact that just because we contemplate a team playing a home game in the playoff doesn't mean that their fans aren't traveling. I've been to a lot of college football games. I see parking lots full of RVs. I see airports packed. I see the private airstrip with all the private planes lined up. Many college football fans don't live in the community where they went to school, so they're traveling to go to a home game. So that's something we need to not lose sight of. The other thing that that keeps coming to my mind is, what about the other team's fan base? It might be great for one team to have a home game, but the other team who's earned their way into the playoff, they can't even travel if they want to, because the ticket allotment for that team isn't very big. Typically. Yeah. So college football bowl games for a long time has hosted neutral site games at a very, very high level. They have all the hospitality, all the hotel, all the logistics of the stadium, the ticket setup, all done well in advance at a high level to service 2 fan bases very equally. I heard many times this season about what a great home game atmosphere this regular season game was, or that regular season game was. And that was true. But as human beings, we're creatures of the moment. What happens today is what is front and center in our memory, and in some cases is the only thing in our head. We need to remember how special these bowl game atmospheres are. There's a lot I could point to, but if you think about the Rose Bowl when Texas beat USC, and the notion of 2 fan bases equally, occupying the stadium in 2 halves. And when one fan base rises up, the other fan base is down, and it's this ebb and flow of the game. And after that game, there's not a person who was there who wouldn't have said, "Oh my God, this is awesome." every playoff game needs to be in this atmosphere. So there's pluses and minuses to both. I get it, but I just happen to believe that there's not a better place to have a college football playoff game than in a bowl game.
Makes me think of Texas OU, the way the stadium is split at the Cotton Bowl, so both fan bases can enjoy it, right?
Absolutely.
Another question for you, Nick, from Matt Merschel. Again, I'm being tested with these last names. I hope I'm saying them right, of the Orlando Sentinel there. How do you see the impact of the transfer portal and NIL on bowl games, especially as it pertains to players opting out and transferring?
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is a problem, period, and not just for bowl games. I mean, it's not good for anyone involved, including the student athletes. I know there's a lot of people out there that think that anyone in this world should be able to do whatever they want, whenever they want. That's clearly not how the world works. College athletics has become the only sports enterprise that I know of where it's unlimited, unrestricted free agency, 24/7, 365 days a year. And that just makes no sense, especially for student athletes who are between the ages of 18 and 22. I have two boys of that age. They're not ready to make those decisions. So something has to be fixed in general. It's not bowl season's thing to fix. It obviously affects us, but as I said earlier, we don't worry about it too much. There's over 100 kids on these rosters. Percentage wise, if 10% of them leave from the transfer portal, there's still plenty of student athletes to field a team. And I think most of those student athletes who maybe are going to enjoy more playing time as a result of some of them leaving are going to really relish that opportunity. And it's going to give fans of those institutions who are going to be fans of those institutions, regardless of who trots out on the field, an opportunity to see that next year's roster kick in a little bit early.
Absolutely. All right. Next question now. Building on the above question, this one is coming from Amanda Kristovich from Front Office Sports. What are the ways NIL deals can be incorporated into the bowl game experience when you're looking towards the future?
Well, there's a number of ways. Sponsorships are obviously a big source of revenue for these bowl games. And until now, the exposure package that the bowls could provide to those sponsors was limited to the game, the television broadcast. Student athletes were very off limits. It's very possible now that sponsorship packages can be designed by bowl games for corporate partners that include student athlete activation. And then the bowl games pass some of that money on to the student athlete. That's something we're starting to explore. Haven't made that leap yet, but I think it's something that potentially could benefit everyone involved. The bowl organization, help them generate more revenue, the conferences, and then the student athletes, most importantly. I also think, again, I'm looking forward to discussions with the commissioners about what they want NIL to look like in bowl games. They're under a lot of pressure to find ways to put more money in the hands of the student athletes. They're getting these massive television deals. And it's complicated. If the conferences or the schools take that money and give it to the student athletes, it's pay for play. If they give it to the student athletes, which student athletes do they give it to? Is it just the football players, or is it every student athlete? And contrary to what a lot of people might think, I don't think every student athlete on a campus deserves the same amount of money if they were going to get paid. That's not how the world works, right? Some people have more value based on what they do and how popular what they do is. So I think bowl games might provide a solution to some of these schools and some of these conferences as a way similar to some of these early season basketball tournaments, where instead of the payouts going to the conferences or the institutions, they could be spread out amongst the student athletes. So again, we're not there yet, but we know that's going to be a discussion point with the commissioners very soon.
Yeah, coming sooner than we think. All right, Seamus O'Callahan from Scoreboard Texas asked, what kind of feedback have you gotten from coaches on the overall value that bowl games give their program, especially non-college football playoff matchups on New Year's Six bowls?
Yeah, I mean, again, bowl games in general serve a greater number of institutions than the playoff games do by themselves. So, we have a podcast every week where we have former players and coaches, current coaches. I just talked to PJ Fleck today. He from Minnesota. He's going to be on our podcast tomorrow. I encourage y'all to listen to it on it's Bowl Season Stories. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube. And he says what a lot of coaches say, how of all the things that are changing in college athletics, the one thing he wants to make sure does not change is bowl games and the ability for him to be able to take his team to bowl games and to have all those memorable experiences. As far as I know, the student athlete experience is still an important component of what the NCAA does. I think people still say that. Whether their actions show that or not is another question, but I do think that's still important. And if you look at most other sports on a campus, they have the ability to go on foreign tours in the summer and play sports against international competition. They have the ability, again, basketball, again, men's and women's, these early season events. They're going to the Bahamas, they're going to Las Vegas, they're going to Hawaii, playing in unique destinations and having these great experiences. College football isn't, the nature of that sport isn't geared for that. So bowl games serves that purpose for college football players. It is that unique experience, that life experience of going to a unique place, a place they might have never been to before, may never go to ever again, but certainly aren't going to be there with 100 of their closest friends to experience things and have memories that they're going to take with them the rest of their life. So bowl games are really, really important for those reasons. And college football coaches across the country recognize that very easily.
Nick, we appreciate all of your insight here today. We just want to get your closing thoughts. And again, thanks for joining us and giving all of us some different perspective today.
Yeah, no, thank you, Sam. I really appreciate your help, your questions. Thank you all for joining. I'm available to talk to any of you one-on-one, especially this month. But I think we've covered a lot today. I think in closing, we really believe that bowl season is a celebration of college football. It's an opportunity for two teams who've had a regular season of 500 or better. They've earned the opportunity to play one more game against an opponent that they wouldn't normally schedule in a location they wouldn't normally go. I think bowl games have been around for so long, and sometimes when that happens, you take things for granted. But I think bowl games and bowl season is one of the greatest promotional vehicles that the game of college football has. It dominates the month of December. It's a showcase of the sport in 43 communities across the country, giving fans of those communities an opportunity to see a bowl game, see a college football game locally with two teams that they wouldn't normally get a chance to see. So it's been around for over 100 years. It's going to be around much longer than that moving forward. And I'm always excited to talk about it. I'm even more excited to watch the games this next month.
Same here, Nick. And before we let all of you go, just a couple things. A reminder, bowl season does begin on Friday, December 16th with the Hometown Lenders Bahamas Bowl and Duluth Trading Cure Bowl. And bowl season culminates with the College Football Playoff National Championship on Monday, January 9th, 2023 in LA. Again, thank you all of you for being here for today's media availability. I'm sorry if I messed up on any of your last names. It's actually a big pet peeve of mine. I always like to be correct with that. If you haven't already, please check out Bowl Season Stories wherever you get your podcasts. Great, give it a listen. We think you'll like it. And a reminder, Bowl Season, where you can find it on social media at Bowl Season on Twitter. The handle is the same for Instagram as well. Nick Carparelli, Executive Director of Bowl Season, thank you for being here, as well as all of you here today. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.